I want to talk about the Indian Act of Canada and two crucial provisions that it has. One of them is the protection of Indian lands, found in what are called the surrender provisions. They carry on the law that was established in 1763 by the Royal Proclamation, which constitutionally protects the lands of the several tribes and nations of Indians of Canada and prevents them from being alienated except at a formal process where the whole community is gathered together to give their consent, and that has to be done in the presence of an officer of the Crown to make sure that there's no shady dealing. That is the sort of heart and soul of the Indian Act. The Indian Act is basically the statutory continuation of the policy set down by the Royal Proclamation. The second thing that the Indian Act does is it protects those lands from being undermined, eroded, expropriated, or lost due to external forces, particularly taxation. So the source of the sections 87, 89, and 90 of the Indian Act, which protect Indian lands and Indian property on those lands from being taxed, is again the Royal Proclamation. The idea that no law of Canada or a province or a municipality can take away the rights of the original peoples to their lands through taxation. So that's the origin of it. And it's a controversial provision nowadays. It's controversial to people who don't understand the history of it. The history of it is that that's there. That was the basic deal. When Britain assumed sovereignty of North America in 1763, it made this grand promise to the native peoples, all those tribes, all across Canada and most of the United States. It made this promise: you will not lose your lands through taxation. And that's why it's still there in the Indian Act. Those two provisions are the fundamental building blocks of the Indian Act. That is the surrender provisions that protect lands and the taxation provisions that protect their incremental erosion through taxation. All of the other stuff in the Indian Act is irrelevant and unnecessary and should probably just be thrown away. It has a bad history. It's the source of the laws that resulted in residential schools, for example. Completely unnecessary provisions and, of course, incredibly damaging. But this is a case where you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. The essential provisions of the Indian Act, whatever you might call them, whatever you might name that statute, those are crucial and fundamental provisions continuing the policy of the Royal Proclamation in 1763 to this day.